Hey, Foot Clan. Today's episode is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the easiest way to create a beautiful website, blog, or an online store for you and your ideas. Squarespace features an elegant interface, beautiful templates, and incredible 24/7 customer support. Try Squarespace at squarespace.com and enter offer code FOOTBALLERS at checkout to get 10% off. Squarespace. Build it beautiful.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Hello, everybody. It is Monday, October 5th.
Whoa, that's what I'm talking about.
It's Falcon Monday.
Wait,
Falcons are 4-0.
oh yes.
We this is a NFL show. So all Falcon references are referring to the team and not the bird.
I wasn't sure if you were referencing.
I could have said it's a Panther Monday.
I was wondering why you were leaving the Panthers out.
Well,
when do they
they're
play each other?
far less of a surprise than the Falcons are. Panthers, we have been in the playoffs a couple years in a row, won the division a couple years in a row. The Falcons, however, who would have thought they could win 42 to whatever it was with no Julio Jones?
Yeah, dominant.
Dominant performance by your guy, Devontae Freeman.
We'll talk about that later.
All right. So, we got a lot we're going to go over today. Week 4 is almost in the books. We got a Monday Night Football game tonight. We're going to preview it. We've got our Fantasy Rewind. We've got our Fantasy Stud Muffins. We got some guys that, well, they pooped their big boy pants, and so we'll talk about them and what you should do with them. If you want to follow the show, you can go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. You can follow us on Twitter at the FFBallers. You can visit us on jointhefoot.com, our fantasy football community. You can also check us out on YouTube and see us. It took us a while getting the camera working this morning, but we're here.
We're good. Good to go.
So, quick question for the day. What player surprised you the very most in week number 4?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
You know what? Go ahead.
I'm going to go with Josh McCown. Josh McCown seemed like a serviceable, very good quarterback that I did not think would be a serviceable, very good quarterback. I mean,
I wasn't sure where
he
you
played
were
pretty
going.
good. He 356 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That is not the line that I would ever expect from Josh McCown on the Browns.
I will pick 2 guys.
Cheater.
One is not my real fantasy selection, but Kirk Cousins surprised me that he completed a clutch pass and then celebrated like a 4th grader.
I missed the
Kirk
celebration.
Cousins was jazzed.
He won the Super Bowl.
He was so I mean, I don't blame him. It was a pretty good throw. Really great catch by Pierre Garçon. I mean, just threaded the needle and won the game against Chip.
Oof,
and
it's tough in the streets up in Philadelphia.
But I'd say Duke Johnson's involvement was heavy. I mean, that was 9 catches. A really great catch in the corner of the end zone. Got his feet in bounds. Really good throw from McCown. So it's all Browns here, man.
Well, then I'll keep it going. I'll keep it going with the Browns with Barnidge, Gary Barnidge, who we thought was a just part of our equation of you plus, or if you're tight end plus matchup with Raiders, you play them,
which is still alive.
Yes, oh yeah, that's still very much going. But Gary Barnidge, man, that
675 and a touchdown.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Not bad.
So our surprise of the week was the Browns.
Even though they lost.
Yeah, that's sad.
They're just a fantasy.
We don't care about that.
Yeah.
A fantasy bounty this week. So let's get into the rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
All right, if you saw the barn burner last night, the
you talk about Lance Dunbar's knee?
You know, I think 99 we will talk about that in just a second. I was going to say 99 out of 100 times when the ball hits the upright like that, at that part of the upright, it goes through, and somehow, some way, it didn't go through, but they still got the job done. So he got bailed out.
And people, we've heard from some listeners that they like to hear about our league. So this is worth mentioning, I have to say. We had 2 guys playing last night head to head. They were tied. No. One guy was up 1 point, and he had the Saints kicker. He was up 1 point. He kicks the field goal. He misses. He gets -2 points
for missing a 30-yarder.
And then we go into overtime. You think, okay, well, there's still a very good chance that the field goal kicker will
Win the game.
Get some points. But C.J. Spiller won the game, and he lost because of that field goal.
The clank equal the loss.
Was amazing.
So in that game, Lance Dunbar tore his ACL, MCL. That's the
We think.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not known, but that's the.
He did something terrible.
Oh,
yeah, it's not good.
Looked no fun.
So I think the implication here is I'm buying. I know it sounds crazy because of the yards per carry, but I'm buying Joey Randall in a lot of leagues because the opportunity for he'll have goal line, at least some of the goal line work, and then he's going to be on third down now with more opportunities to catch the ball. So there's just like a floor for Randall that I really like out of an RB2.
Yeah, what would not surprise me, though, is if they go and they buy a third down back. Like Pierre Thomas is still available. Ahmad Bradshaw. There's third down guys that you can get, and I would not be surprised to see them pick somebody up.
Yeah, that's not a bad call. Reminder to everybody, Antonio Gates and Martavis Bryant are eligible to return this week from their suspensions. So this means probably good things for Rivers and that offense, although Ladarius Green caught a touchdown this week. And then, well, that's good for Gates then. Martavis Bryant will return, but he will return without Big Ben.
Yeah, I still like him. And he's great just in general for that offense. Hayward Bay has been serviceable and worked out for that team, but he is not Martavis Bryant. Bryant really opens up the field for everybody. I mean, you kind of had to figure Le'Veon Bell is going to be the biggest benefactor as far as fantasy production when Big Ben went down because they're going to have to lean on the run a little bit more. But Martavis Bryant opens that up even more for Le'Veon Bell, and he helps Antonio Brown. This is great news for the Steelers.
And Vic can throw the ball really far.
Yes, he can do that.
And I believe in the preseason he had a long one to Martavis.
And Bryant is also the type of guy who can get yards after the catch in a much bigger fashion than Hayward Bay. So he'll be much better when Big Ben comes back, but I agree with you, Mike. I'm willing to start him this coming week.
You're willing to start him?
I am, yeah.
I am not.
No?
Nope.
We'll have to look on
I'm not starting the wide receiver 2/3 of a Michael Vick offense in his first week out.
I think that's completely fair. But this week, when we look for our games ahead, we'll have to find a water bet there.
Fair enough. Let's talk about Andrew Luck. He did not play, missed his first game as an NFL quarterback.
They didn't need him in Indianapolis.
Oh, they needed him. That darn Jaguar
lost
kicker.
That game.
I'm saying this. My friend said this last week. I would pay Justin Tucker $20 million a year. The amount of teams that either lost or almost lost on the foots of kickers that had easy kicks. I mean, it's just ridiculous. If he makes either of those field goals in the Jacksonville Colt game, the Jaguars win that game, and they get lucky, so to speak, not having to face him.
It's not fair to be able to trade away Josh Scobie and still have him. That's
the ghosts.
Either way, they're in a bad position.
I have actually started my son on a regiment to become an NFL kicker now.
Yeah, well,
they need him. The kickers are needed.
The problem is
you can make some sweet cash, and you barely ever get hit.
Yeah, you lose your job every 30 seconds.
Not if you're dominant.
No, teach him to be a dominant kicker. That's
why I'm teaching him right now.
There you go. I got my kids starting soccer today, so
that's what you got to do.
You got a chance for that. So, let's talk about Luck real quick, though. The Colts are expecting to have him on Thursday. This could be gamesmanship, though, if he is really still hurt. So, real quick, do you expect Andrew Luck to start on Thursday Night Football?
I feel about 50-50 right now. Maybe 51% that he plays.
No, I'm exactly the same, 50-50, and I don't think we can make any predictions before we see whether or not he's practicing. I mean, that's, it would be silly to say make a decision now, so I have no idea.
Cecil Shorts dislocated his shoulder. Stevie Johnson has a strained hamstring.
Yeah.
Daniel Fells has foot surgery, likely headed to the IR. Donnell had a good game.
Yeah, he's
caught a few passes. And then the kind of dumpster fire that is the Miami Dolphins current roster, coaching situation. ESPN's reporting that head coach Joe Philbin is probably going to be fired. Now, the Roto-World reported that it might be the defensive coordinator that takes the fall right now because they didn't like anybody that they could bring in the interim. However, this team is not good.
Shoo.
The play calling is just it's a majestic thing almost. It's just such a car crash to watch the choices that they make where the game was actually not – it was out of hand, and then they started coming back. And there was a sequence of events where they were on around the 3 or 5 yard line, and they didn't run the ball a single time. Throw. Got bailed out by a penalty. Then throw.
How many touchdowns did they get out of that?
They got 0.
Yeah. And that's not even the first game they did that. They did that last week too. And what's going to happen here is if Philbin is fired, they're still going to probably keep Bill Lazor, who's calling the plays anyways, and maybe nothing changes. If Bill Lazor goes out, I'm much more happy about the changes in Miami because then they'll have to be a team that calls run plays more than 7 a game.
I still believe that the front four on that defensive line and whatever they're doing there is not working. I mean, those 4 guys were sack masters last year.
What about
you bring in Sue, and they have 0 across the front 4 defensive line.
0 sacks, but Sue did have a sweet kick to, I think it was Fitzpatrick's head.
Well, you do one of those a game. Because no matter where you go, Detroit, Miami, you can always kick the other team when they're beating you. So anything else that we want to talk about in the fantasy rewind, guys, before we start talking about the games and the stud muffins and such?
Are we moving to Monday night game, or are we moving forward? What are we doing?
We are moving forward here. Do you want to talk Monday night right now?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So Seattle faces Detroit. The line's almost 10 here in favor of the Seahawks.
Yeah.
So I've had a hard time kind of figuring out what to expect from this game, probably because my brain tells me that, this high-flying offense has to figure something out, right?
Which? What?
Detroit.
Oh, I was like,
Detroit's offense has to figure. I mean, they have Calvin Johnson. They have Choo Abdullah. They got
Joik Bell.
They've got Golden Tate.
Don't gloss over your man.
No, he's out today.
Yeah, I was going to say, they've got an upgrade. They got Zach Zinner in today.
Yeah.
Maybe.
How many carries? Over under 7 carries for Zach Zinner.
Oh, I hope it's over, but I'm going to go under.
Yeah, I think right around there.
But I've had lots of questions of, do you go Rawls
or
Abdullah?
Yep.
I've had tons of these questions, and I think it depends on your situation.
Totally.
But I think Rawls is the safer play.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get guaranteed points.
And the goal line.
One of them gets to go against the Lions, and one of them gets to go against the Seahawks. So
Abdullah could decide to turn.
Right. I guess if Abdullah can go against the Lions, definitely play him.
That's very good advice.
It's like, you guys remember Rock and Jock on MTV where they would Rock and Jock softball?
I didn't have cable, bro.
Well, you missed out.
I grew up without cable.
You missed out on some amazing.
You guys,
I remember
did you guys check out?
versions.
You guys ever see PBS?
Yeah.
What?
Public television?
No.
Yes. But in Rock
That's
and
what
Jock,
we had without cable.
players would constantly be traded in the middle of games. So, fingers crossed,
Abdullah could flip.
Abdullah could go over to Seattle where they commit to running the game.
I'm very excited about Jimmy Graham. I believe Jimmy Graham's going to have a great season. I think we saw what he'll do last week. He's still running routes. They got to involve him. And without Marshawn Lynch, the offense has to funnel a little bit heavier through Russell Wilson, who's been okay for fantasy so far.
Did you see it's kind of jumping back to the other game, but the quote of Clay Matthews taunting Colin Kaepernick?
Yes, I did.
Saying, "You are not Russell Wilson."
He also kissed his bicep after a sack.
Oh, that is just doing him dirty.
Yeah, I mean, Clay Matthews has a very fun attitude about it, though, because he's just kind of like, we're grown men clowning on each other out there. It's not a big deal. I just make it up as I go along.
He's
Who cares?
not J.J. Watt, where he it feels serious when he rips off the other person's celebration.
That being said, isn't it really a compliment to Russell Wilson? Because that's
of course.
Yes,
I think that's like
what the whole point. Yeah.
Well, right, but I just mean from me looking, I would assume it would be just as hard to chase down Russell Wilson or Colin Kaepernick just watching them on the field. But his admission is like, no, it's not as hard to chase both of those guys
Nice sneakers, bro. All right. Let's move it on.
So we want to thank our sponsor real quick, FanDuel. So if everyone out there, if you're not playing with FanDuel, you really got to check it out. Here's what you need to know about FanDuel. FanDuel is the leader in 1 week fantasy football with more winners and more payouts than any other site. They are paying out over $75 million a week this football season. That's a lot of cash. It's a salary cap format. You get to pick any players you want for just 1 week. Entry fees start at just $1. Anybody can play. Now, here's what we need the Foot Clan to do. We need you to go to FanDuel.com, click on the microphone in the upper right-hand corner, and use our code BALLERS and sign up now. You've got a special offer for new users. For every $1 you deposit, FanDuel will match it with up to $200 that gets earned as you play. That's a bonus of up to $200 free. The offer is good. If you use our code BALLERS, don't forget, code BALLERS, FanDuel.com, where every day is a new season.
All right. I also want to thank our sponsor, Squarespace. We only bring you sponsors that we love, and I have used Squarespace for years. And listen, building a website can be tough. And even if you do know your way around coding, creating something that looks great and works well is very time-consuming. It takes a bunch of effort and a bunch of money unless you use Squarespace, like I have in the past, like we've used before. Whether it's for a business site, a portfolio, a restaurant, or whatever else, listen, in this day and age, you have to have a website. You have to have some place to send people to know about what you're doing. And so, lucky for us, Squarespace makes it easy to build beautiful websites without breaking a sweat. So listen, start your free trial today with no credit card required. Go to squarespace.com, and when you sign up for Squarespace, make sure you use the offer code FOOTBALLERS to get 10% off your first purchase. They start at $8 a month, and you get a free domain if you sign up for a year. Start your free trial today. Use the code FOOTBALLERS on squarespace.com. Squarespace, build it beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. All right, guys, let's talk some stud muffins.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
Let's talk about my start of the week. The number one. He ended up the number one. Is that right?
That is correct.
I didn't even know that until you told me that.
Thus far, we still have two
Russell.
quarterbacks to go.
Russell and Matthew.
Who will not be the number one quarterback.
Yeah.
But
So
that's okay.
Phillip is in the top three no matter what.
No matter what.
So Phillip Rivers, 23 completions for 358 yards, 3 touchdowns. It took him a little while to get going in this game. He only had about 12 points at halftime in fantasy. However, he got it done.
And I believe there was 3 missing starters from his offensive line. So that's what happened. If you watch the game early on, there was a particular play near the very beginning of the game where the linebackers just hit the A gap and came running completely free right up the center. It was ridiculous. And so there's a credit to that team and that offensive line coach who managed to get things going together, because it wasn't just Rivers. I mean, Woodhead had a pretty decent game. Melvin Gordon we really liked him, but the game flow just didn't work out for him. But Rivers was great. If you have Rivers right now, hold on to him. The schedule is going to be great for him moving forward. And he gets Gates back.
He had a great game. Sammy Biscuits.
Yeah,
he's back.
I hope people made some money on those GPPs. We were like, maybe throw him out for a FanDuel bigger tournament, because he finished great. I think he finished as the
touchdowns.
Number 2, maybe?
Yeah, Sam Bradford had a good week. He had a 39-yarder to Miles Austin of days past.
Yes.
Drew Brees came back with a big game last night. Ended with an 80-yard touchdown, which always boosts the stats, but he's
that helps.
359 and 2. And we talked about McCown and Cousins. Both of those guys completed a lot of passes, 356 yards for McCown, 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins had 290 yards and a touchdown, although I'm not signing or starting Kirk Cousins anywhere. This is just more like his mom called and wanted us to mention his name.
However, I think we need to start taking Josh McCown serious as a streamer.
Sure.
But this is back-to-back high-volume weeks. It's just he's got to be
Duke
listed.
Johnson helps that offense a lot.
Yes.
From a standpoint of, like, you can take it out of the backfield and do something with it. Young legs, fresh legs.
Duke really got it done in the passing game, though. The touchdown, the deep touchdown, was a great pass and
a really good catch.
Yeah, so it was a fantastic play overall.
Yes. Breaking news.
Let us have it.
Joe Philbin has been fired.
Sorry, Joe, but sorry, not sorry.
I tweeted a little note about Joe Philbin over the weekend that I won't repeat on the show.
Now, out of curiosity in the breaking news, is the defensive coordinator and or offensive coordinator still around?
Let's see. I don't know yet.
All right.
It is very breaking.
Entire coaching
Extremely
staff
breaking.
fired.
They should do that.
Ndamukong Suh has kicked Joe Philbin in the head. Wait, that is not a real news story. Okay, so he's gone. This can only mean nowhere to go but up. Nowhere to go but up.
You have to hold out the hope.
Here's what
for
you
Miller.
do. You guys want me to take over as coach? Because I can tell you what to do. Do you want to know?
I want to know.
Okay. First, on offense, you get Lamar Miller more involved, and you get Devontae Parker more involved. You don't keep throwing the ball to Greg Jennings or rotational Rashard Matthews as your
Stills.
number one guy. Well, they tried to throw to Kenny Stills. He finally caught one at the end of the game, but they kept throwing all over the place.
The play calling is of how many fades do you have to miss on before you think, okay, we've missed 5 times in a row. Maybe we should hold off on calling the fade passes.
Yeah, it was gross. So that's where I would start on the offenses. I would use your first round pick.
No,
I would involve him in the
That's too
offense. You know,
easy.
he's a giant superstar in the making, and you throw him like no passes. Actually, the only contribution I saw from him yesterday was the touchdown that got called back because of the pick.
Right.
The one to Landry. So kind of disappointing there. So, all right, wide receivers that had big games. Tavon Austin. There's got to be nobody better than him in the screen game, in the wide receiver screen. He just always seems to, he plays with a fury. He had 2 touchdowns, 96 yards through the air. He had another 20 or 25 rushing. Do you start to consider Tavon Austin a flexible guy?
He's getting close. Here's what I consider him right now, because watching the game, he was as fast as he's ever been, and that's always been his huge thing. They're using him more and more, targeting him more. So he is now not flexible yet, I don't think, but he is rosterable. And before I have seen him on waivers and left him on waivers, and now you really do have to consider it, especially with the emergence of Todd Gurley. Gonna open things up there.
Do you guys want to hear a funny stat?
Yeah, of course.
Always.
This one comes from Field Yates, by the way, so I got to give him credit at Field Yates. The Patriots hired Bill Belichick in 2000. How many combined coaches has the rest of the AFC East had in that time?
Just that division?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's been
3 teams
in 15 years.
15 years combined.
I'm gonna go with 25.
21.
21
coaches
Wow.
for the AFC East. So, I've always been the kind of, you have to have the right guy, but the way Cincinnati's done it, the way New England's done it, you're going to have the way the Giants have done it. Jason and I were talking about this with Coughlin yesterday, and say what you will about Coughlin, you can like him, you cannot like him. They've let him work through tough times in the division. I think the Giants win this division, by the way, this year, and I think it's just a testament to Coughlin. This will be the 3rd time they've been, are they going to fire Coughlin?
Yeah.
And then he comes out and,
wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
The last 2 times it was like, they didn't fire him. Oh, he just got us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He gets 2 more years, and then by that time, they're about to fire him, and he gets them back to the Super Bowl.
That's crazy. So, all right, Alan Hearns, start of the week by Mike, the fantasy hitman, 11 for 116 and a touchdown.
I tip my cap.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that
That's
was-
beautiful. I remember getting the tweet this week, or the text this week, and they said, Hearns TD.
Yeah, I was
we-
very excited.
We want to come through for you guys.
I
out
was
there.
happy with just the touchdown, and then he decided he was going to have the best game of his career.
Yeah,
Right?
well, that's a good time to call him your start of the week, don't you think?
Yeah.
And then Vincent Jackson reappeared.
You got to hit the button for Vincent.
Why have you not put there's a name missing, by the way, in this
Oh, I
wide
missed one?
receiver list. Yeah.
Who are we missing?
His name rhymes with Schmermy Schmacklin.
Oh, because I just went through. I was going through the tops. and-
Yeah, he was
No,
kind
you're
of
right.
one of the tops.
You're right.
He just didn't score a touchdown, but he was like
he
11
was-
for 149.
Yes.
He was the 6th highest wide receiver this
Okay.
week. So
All right. Well,
Jerry,
he's
he-
higher than Mike Wallace and Leonard Hankerson, I'm sure.
he is 1 higher than Mike Wallace.
Okay.
And he is 2 behind Leonard Hankerson.
Oh, Hankerson scored. Okay.
Yeah, no, Jeremy Maclin had a great game.
Thank you. That's all I wanted.
Yeah.
And
I just wanted you to say that without me having to hit the garbage man button.
One other guy
that's fair.
worth mentioning because of future injury as well, who had a top 10 wide receiver game, was Kamar Aiken. And with Steve Smith being out, I think he's a name we should keep on the radar.
He can be started next week if you need to. I'd rather start
Absolutely.
Kamar Aiken next week than...
Is it Kamar or is it Kamar?
Yeah, I kind of follow Jason's lead there, but I believe it's Kamar. But we'll
We got to hit the
I'm-
YouTube again.
yeah. All right. I do. Leonard Hankerson had a good game. That game, I'm going to just share my story from the league.
Yes.
This is called Nightmare. It's called The Nightmare. I was playing Mike. I lost to Mike handily. I had Arian Foster and Julio Jones. And the worst combo of events happened in that game where just a boat racing. By the way, this was my almost upset of the week. That is now going to be called the almost upset of the week.
When it was 0-0,
it was almost an
very
upset.
Close.
I mean, just ridiculous. I think I've picked the 2 biggest blowouts the past 2 weeks. So I'm like 2 for 4 now on the year, which is whatever. They're tough picks. But this is terrible because they scored 1,000,000 points. And so both of the guys didn't even play in the second half. I mean, it was like every time I looked on my phone, it was the Falcons with the ball and a guy named Ward keeps running the ball. And you knew there was going to be no Arian Foster. They're going to save him for Thursday night. And they don't need to throw the ball to Julio Jones because this game was over before it started. So 4-0 Falcons, but I got no points out of those guys. I started Mike Evans. For those that are, we just talked about Vincent Jackson. Who do I think's better rest of the year? Mike Evans by far. Not even close. He had Mike 1 billion targets, but he went up against Norman.
Yeah, I was going to say, he got the Josh Norman effect. That dude is a bad man.
He is. And that team is a great team because of him.
So let me ask you guys this, because I have a little bit of a hard time right now trusting a start in either Mike Evans or Vincent Jackson, because I don't think the Tampa Bay offense with Winston is going to put up enough points through the air for both to have a good week. So I feel like you're just rolling the dice. And either one of these guys can win you a week, but they could also be guys in your roster that lose you a week. And so Mike Evans, I agree, is the guy to have there going forward of the 2, but I'm not thrilled about having him on my team where I've got to choose to start him and go, is this going to be the week that he gets in the end zone? Because if he doesn't, it can't go to both guys enough in that offense.
I don't agree. We'll
Okay.
just disagree on that one. I think Mike Evans has more than a sustainable amount of target numbers coming his way for the remainder of the season. He had 17 targets last week. He didn't score last week. He still put up 15 fantasy points. He faced Norman this week. He still had 8 targets this week. He's just too big, and they're going to be down by too many points. I mean, we saw this last year. They were a terrible team last year.
So are you saying you are comfortable starting Mike Evans? Let's say you don't have Mike Evans and you've got Vincent Jackson. Are you comfortable starting Vincent Jackson?
I'm comfortable flexing Vincent Jackson.
Okay, so
I'm
think
a wide
both
receiver
are
2
worthy
on
of-
Evans.
Yeah.
I'm a 2 on Evans. I'm a flex on Jackson.
I'm a 2 on Vincent Jackson.
I mean, it doesn't mean I disagree that they're not that good. It doesn't mean that I disagree that one guy's going to be higher than the other, but that's kind of par for the course. I mean, even Julio can have a day where he's
Sure.
Julio and Brown, Antonio Brown. I thought I was in the gold here where Mike started Antonio Brown and he got 5 points or whatever, and I'm like, oh, Julio should triple that. Nope, got less. Just happens sometimes. So, but the target numbers are what I look for, and I like the target numbers there, and they're going to be losing a lot of games. So, Mike Wallace did score a touchdown. I thought about making him my start of the week last week because of the fact that Charles Johnson wasn't playing. And they're facing Denver. He had a good game.
That would have been bold.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Spicy.
I almost benched Foster right before the game.
I know.
And put Eddie Royal in because Cutler was going to play, and I'm like, well, if Royal's the lead dog with.
And then he immediately gets a touchdown, right?
Yep.
Right afterwards.
Yeah.
that was great.
All right, running backs, Devonta Freeman.
All right.
Freeman.
Hit the Mr. Freeman. Some things might have been said
I'd like you to quote them.
over the off season. I believe the words "he stinks" were said by some panelists in this.
Some panelists.
Mostly myself. And you've proven me very wrong right now. So, Mr. Freeman, this is a heartfelt apology. You are playing fantastic, and that's what I have to say about that. I've been wrong.
He's 3 more touchdowns.
That's just every week he puts up 3
And
now.
he just
5 for 81 through the air, 14 for 63, 68 and 3, and played half a game.
And he just, when he's on these scoring plays, it's just him rocketing
Right
up the middle.
He looks like eyeball test. All of a sudden, he looks like Barry Sanders. I mean, he's just like going nuts on the field. He looks so fast, and he did not.
I have a
fast.
very funny comparison for him.
Okay.
Because I think it might reflect his skills, because I don't think his skills are through the roof, okay? He kind of reminds me of Noshawn Moreno in the fact that he runs so darn hard and wants, Moreno ran wanting the next yard, and that made the difference. It's like Freeman gets some confidence behind him, and he wants the next yard. I don't think his skills are top 20 in the NFL. I just think the offensive line's playing very good in Atlanta. I mean, do you just – so the question for fantasy owners, which we need to be bending these things towards, obviously, is do you just keep rolling Freeman out?
Yeah, you have to.
Or do you sell him because you anticipate Coleman coming back in a couple weeks and splitting the load?
I'm fine selling him if you can get great value.
Like RB1 value.
Exactly. If you can get RB1 value, I'm fine selling him because I don't expect him to keep up. I mean, obviously, he's not going to keep up this pace, but I don't necessarily expect him to be a top 12 running back from week 5 to the end of the season. I think he has the potential to do that, so I'm fine selling him. However, if you have him, you have to start him. There's no reason to think that the 4-0 Falcons who are working with this formula are going to have Tevin Coleman come back and go, well, sorry, Freeman, get to the back of the line. Not going to happen.
Clearly, the team thought Coleman was the guy. If you look at the snap counts and the touches in the first couple weeks, it was Coleman. That's who the team was grooming. But Freeman has emerged, and you can't ignore what he's done.
Devonta Freeman or C.J. Anderson?
Devonta Freeman.
Yeah, rest of season 2, I assume.
Yep.
So, I think you can probably get RB1 value for him in most leagues based on a repeat 3-touchdown performance for a lot of owners. So pay attention to that. If you can get, if you can swap Devonta Freeman and another guy and get back an Adrian Peterson.
Ooh, yeah.
Or Lev Bell.
Right.
Because people are buying into the
cannot
huge weeks.
trade too much for Le'Veon Bell.
No, we've said that
impossible.
Too. All right, Jeremy Hill. He had 9 carries for 40 yards and Trace 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. The market corrected itself with all those passing touchdowns that they were getting.
I agree. And I wasn't happy about it because I played against Jeremy Hill, but I was happy because there were 3 guys we thought would bounce back this week on the show. And it was Justin Forsett, it was Jeremy Hill, and it was C.J. Anderson. And 2/3 of them
2 out of 3
back.
ain't bad.
Yeah, not bad.
So Chris Ivory had a monster game. What were your impressions of Chris Ivory, Mike?
Good. That was a pleasant surprise to wake up to. The Ivory just looked. That's the Ivory we remember. Looking just absolutely ferocious. His line is helping him out, getting him gaps to run through.
It looks like he runs on a field that's
pointing down.
That's pointed down.
I can
so when
agree
he
with
hits
that.
a guy, gravity pulls them in this direction.
You never see him not pick up the extra yard or 2 lean. Nobody ever pushes him, and he doesn't fall backwards ever to lose that yard. And the truth is, they rested him last week because of his
They
worries.
arrested him?
Yes,
He's been arrested?
They rested
By
him
the Jets.
Oh.
last week for his hamstring troubles.
Quad. Yeah.
And clearly they feel like he was over that because I kept waiting for them when they were ahead to stop giving him the ball, but they're going, no, he's over the injury. They've got a bye week coming up
that
this
made a
week.
big difference.
So you saw the
Is he a
reason
top
in the
12
preseason.
back the rest of the year?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. And he's a guy that on a bye week I would try to trade for because sometimes people go, if they need a player, if they
29 for 166.
That's pretty good.
1 touchdown, and Stacy's mom took 1 touchdown from him, which was so disappointing.
It was not fair.
Doug Martin had a big game.
The garbage man.
What?
Actually, that's not really true.
Yeah,
he scored his touchdown early.
Yeah.
But he got 20 for 106 and a touchdown, 5 for 37 through the air, which certainly helps. Duke Johnson, we talked about him. And we had the debut of the Gurley show. And, man, did it look good.
Well, for 3 quarters, it looked horrific.
Not 3 quarters. No. I mean, the first half, it looked horrific.
Agreed.
The second half, he
had over 100 yards in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, but okay. So you're saying he picked up most of it.
Yeah, and that's not a knock on Todd Gurley. That's a positive
They
thing.
knew they were running the whole 4th quarter, and the Cardinals couldn't stop him.
That's why it's positive for me, because a running back is not – you want him to get 3 yards, 5 yards. You can't get these 1 yard, but when a running back gets better as the game goes along, that's Adrian Peterson style. If you've ever actually watched Peterson, which most people have, but I'm saying Peterson doesn't just come out of the gate all the time and run 6 yards here, and he wears the defense down.
Just like this last game.
And he's just so strong that by the end of the game, they can't tackle him anymore, and that's what Todd Gurley did.
And this was in Arizona against a super tough run defense with the crowd behind him. Watching him be able to pull away from speedy guys, he looks deceptively fast. And, I had told some people, wait to try to buy Todd Gurley after this week because he was going to Arizona
Yeah, good luck.
against that run D. Yeah, good luck buying him. But if you can, I would love to have him based on what I saw and what I didn't see, which was no Trey Mason.
He was there.
I know he was there, but my point is just he was not the – it was the Gurley show, and that's what it's going to be.
When I said he was there,
that's what I've been saying. I expected
snaps.
him to be fantasy relevant this week, guaranteed next week, and that you don't spend a pick on him and a talent like that. You just leave him on the field. 19 for 146. He could have scored probably coming around the edge at the end of the game.
100% could have scored.
But played the smart play and went down. Tight end wise, Martellus Bennett, 11 for 83 and a touchdown. And he was a start of the week. Charles Clay was a start of the week, 9 for 111, and had a touchdown taken away from him, but he still had a monster game. Kobe Fleener was 9 for 82 and a touchdown. We saw Dwayne Allen inactive before the game. And then we talked about Gary Barnidge, 6 for 75 and a touchdown. Moving forward, do you start Clay and Bennett? Obviously, you probably do.
Yes.
What about Fleener in the future if Allen's out?
If Allen is out, you can play him.
How much of this was because of Matt Hasselbeck?
I don't think it was too much because of Hasselbeck. I think Luck would have used him too. I think it was more because Allen was out.
And then Gary Barnidge, do we just...
You got to play him.
Okay.
You got to play him.
All right, let's talk about the guys who didn't do so well.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
I actually think this segment is one of the more important ones that we're going to do all week because we're going to talk about guys that didn't perform, and this is trade season. This is sell season. This is, do I stick with these guys and keep rolling them out or not? So at the quarterback position, we have Peyton Manning. Peyton had a very lackluster day, a couple picks, 1 touchdown, 213 yards through the air. Is this kind of what we're going to see? Is this a defensive-led Broncos team where Manny's going to have his games, but is he a start every week?
No,
or do you start streaming him?
He's definitely not a start every week. He's a stream type of guy. But the thing that's interesting about two of the guys on this list, Peyton Manning and Matt Ryan, is their names say you drafted them to start him every week. And how do you start someone else over him? And Matt Ryan didn't have a bad game, but he was the 20th quarterback.
Well, Matt Ryan is a complete Matt Ryan,
right.
I don't worry about him at all here.
No,
you start him going forward.
Yeah. My point though is it's another thing where we look at names and don't realize game flow matters, matchups matter, and you streaming you can get better value from certain big names like Peyton Manning, but it's a defensive led Broncos. They're not going to be in a lot of giant shootouts because their defense keeps the game score low. So I'm a little worried about Peyton if he was my guy. I would definitely be playing matchups at least. If there's a really good matchup and Peyton, I would play him over Peyton. I had Peyton this week, for instance, ranked I think 18th or 19th on my quarterbacks. So,
all right, running backs. Carlos Hyde had another bad game, 8 for 20. Mike and I were talking before the show. I think you need to start looking at Carlos Hyde the way you would look at a Jaguar running back from the past few years, where this team is not good. They are not a good team. And running backs, as talented as you can be, if you're not on a very good team, if you're not competitive in these games, you're going to be game flowed out of fantasy production. Am I right?
You are absolutely correct.
And speaking of another bad team, the same thing's happening to him. Lamar Miller had another terrible game. What do we do with Hyde and Miller fantasy-wise, Jason?
You hold on to them. I don't think you're going to get enough value out of either guy. Neither one of them are cuttable, so you bench them or you play them matchups if they've got a great matchup.
Right now they're sitting 48th and 43rd.
This week. Over the week. Yeah. I think Miller, we got that hope again, right? Because Philbin will be gone.
Yep.
Yeah, so you got to hold on to that. They're on a bye
week. They're on a bye week this week. So,
well, maybe they learn how to run in the bye week. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe they say hello to Lamar Miller when
who
return.
else we got to say hello to?
Hello.
Latavius Murray ends up being benched due to a fumble. He had 2 fumbles in the game, but he got benched.
It wasn't just the fumble. There was he caused the pick.
Yeah.
Where it bounced right off his hands.
Yep. So, Roy Hello. How you doing? Mike's been so excited to say that on the show today.
Yeah.
As are all of you who said it at your draft. And what is it? Is this just a one-time thing? Or
it's a one-time thing. Looking at Carr and seeing what the coach said afterwards, and even what Latavius Murray was saying afterwards, this was, send a message, but he's going to be back.
Arian Foster, 8 for 10. He's back, baby.
Hooray!
He also had one of the most disgusting little fumble return for a touchdown things. This game was a complete disaster from the beginning for Houston. I am excited about Arian Foster Thursday night against the Colts. Are you guys with me?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
Maybe he'll get to play more than a quarter or two.
Maybe. I like him.
Yeah, so no setbacks there. That's the big news for fantasy owners. No setbacks for Arian Foster. Wide receivers that had a pretty crappy game. Jason, we talked about this. He didn't go gooser, but he got pretty darn close.
He got as close as
Roddy White, 2 for 8, coming off of 2 0-0 games. Are you preparing a eulogy?
Yeah, he is. Roddy, I remember once upon a time when you were a wide receiver 1.
Oh,
and then I remember when you were a great wide receiver 2. But you skipped wide receiver 3. And you
4,
went straight
5.
to wide receiver 8. And so we will remember you in the future as the Roddy White who was a Hall of Fame level for a couple of years.
If your team is alive in your 24-man team, then Roddy White, you start him every week.
What's a 24-man league?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have to start every player in the NFL, he's on somebody's team. Okay. Mike Evans, we talked about him, 3 for 32 against Norman.
Hold on. What about Leonard Hankerson? So is Hankerson now a weekly start?
Yeah. He's a flexible guy. I would have him
He's
over
a bye
Roddy.
week start.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a bye week start. He's just what Hearns was this week, which is a matchup and bye kind of, I can roll Hearns out there in my flex based on the matchup. You know, when Julio goes up against somebody that is going to keep him to like 2 touchdowns on 100 yards than Hankerson. Let's talk about Odell Beckham Jr. What I thought was interesting about this game, he had 12 targets, but he only ended up with 5 for 38. We pay attention to targets. Okay, we know Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be okay. Eli Manning really trusted the other receivers on the team.
Rubes.
Another
Rubes.
Ruben Randall, but not just him. Dwayne Harris. Dwayne Harris got targeted.
I don't want to talk about
Larry
Dwayne
Donnell.
I want to talk about Ruben Randall.
This was not the week for the big-name wide receiver because Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones, and Antonio Brown all had stinkers.
Yeah.
But their teams,
Yeah.
other than, I guess, the Steelers lost. Yeah. But the other 2 won anyway. So let's talk about tight ends real quick. Travis Kelce, 5 for 49 and a fumble.
Boom. How many targets did he actually get?
It was a disappointing game because they were in it, and they were coming back, so I expected him to have a bigger game.
I'm pulling him up right now.
Zach Ertz, 2 for 11. Kyle Rudolph, 2 for 7. It's hard to put these guys into poop their big boy pants. I don't think any of these guys got big boy pants on. I don't think Kyle Rudolph or Zach Ertz or Heath Miller were expecting big games from them.
No, but I guess they're in there just to say, you guys did nothing for your NFL team this week, literally.
All right, so go sign Antonio Gates.
Yes.
If he's on your waiver wire. Consider Larry Donnell as a start because of the fact that we don't have competition there for him anymore.
Go sign Owen Daniels because he plays the Raiders next week.
Owen Daniels plays the Raiders, and I don't know if it sustained this week. Jason, you signed him in one of our leagues. But the 3 previous weeks, he had increased target numbers each week.
I don't know that he had increased targets, but he did get a red zone target touchdown.
What was that again?
Target touchdown.
A target touchdown?
Touchdown.
Kelsey had 7 targets, so that's
yeah, it's all right.
You got to target Kelsey.
He is a fumbler.
Just
career-wise, he just fumbles a lot.
But if I'm recalling correct, I don't think that was actually a fumble. I'm trying to remember if we could get the video.
Recorded as a fumble.
Yes,
and a loss.
yeah. It was a fumble officially, but it was one of those weird review things.
Well,
I thought he was down.
He's the kind of guy who either fumbles or nearly fumbles a lot, which is my point. So, let's go mailbag.
Mailbag.
All right, if you have a question, you can go to our website, click the Submit a Question button in the top right. If you have a quick trade question, waiver question, start, sit, that type of thing, you can get those through directly to us. You can also call us, 302-464-TFFB, and we will play some of those voicemails on the show. All right, CC in Chicago says he is down 19 points, and the other guy is done. He has either Abdullah or Rawls in his flex spot, full point PPR. And oh, by the way, the guy I'm playing married my ex.
What?
He got me there. I need to get him here.
What?
Thanks and great show.
Wow.
In a full point PPR,
This sounds like Jerry Springer show over here.
Yeah, well, I am more confident about Abdullah than the majority, so I would play Abdullah. And that is, I know that's bold, and you can rip me for it.
You need
but
19 points.
I'm playing Abdullah for the big score and the pass catching.
Are you going to get 19 points with one score out of Abdullah? Do you think he can get one touchdown
No.
and still get 19 points? So he needs 2 touchdowns in order to do
No,
it.
he doesn't need 2 touchdowns. He needs one. I thought you meant like a one play or something.
No.
Yeah, he needs 1 score, and he'll catch enough through the air in a full point PPR to get 19.
Maybe. I would go Rawls.
Okay.
I think I have to lean
I
Rawls
want to come
too.
back to this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to see the game tonight. I doubt any of us want to water bet that.
No. It's a tough call.
In a full point PPR, I don't think Rawls catches a pass. I mean, he's going to have to score 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
But what I think is more likely is Rawls goes for 102 than Abdullah getting the 19 points.
That's fine. I mean, it's a completely split down the middle for me. I mean, I don't really know. I'm just going to play at least Abdullah can bust a 67-yard screen pass or something.
Sure.
Evan in Livingston says, has to start 3 running backs in week 5, doesn't know what to do, non-PPR. Choose 3 out of Jamal Charles, Arian Foster, Devonta Freeman, and Justin Forsett.
Wow, we're kind of early for the week. We're still in week 4.
Yeah.
However,
So you gotta sit one.
it's an interesting question for people now who are looking at trades and looking at things that they want to set up.
I don't even know what the matchups
So
are.
I can tell you.
Okay.
Charles is in regardless.
So the Falcons play the Redskins.
Yeah.
And obviously you're playing Jamal Charles.
Yes.
Especially against the Bears. You're playing Arian Foster, I think, on Thursday night.
I think, yeah.
I would be playing him over Forsett and over.
Yeah, the Raiders play the Broncos, which is a bad. I'm looking.
The Ravens play the Browns. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, that's what I was. Looking
Did somebody get traded to the Raiders that I don't know about?
I think
I go Charles, Foster, Freeman.
Yeah,
Charles. I definitely go Charles, and I go Freeman. To me, the Thursday night Arian is a little scary, but I lean him over Forsett.
I agree.
Adrian in Syracuse.
Adrian.
Yeah, wasn't he in New York too? No, he was in Washington D.C.
What?
Rocky.
Philadelphia.
Oh, it was.
And Adrian was a girl. She.
Do you know how many?
I said, wasn't he in New York?
He was
and you said
referring to
Philadelphia.
Rocky.
Yeah, I know.
I just
That's
want
what you were too.
Yeah, but I want to let you know that you probably can never show your face in Philadelphia again.
It'll be all right.
No, it won't.
Someone in my 10-man PPR league offered me this trade: Marshawn Lynch and Thomas Rawls for Justin Forsett. I have Forsett. Should I stay true to Forsett, or do I take advantage of Forsett's big day this past Thursday? Great question. I take Lynch and Rawls.
Me too.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Dr. in Dre. Figure that one out. Do I trade away Jarvis Landry and Jeremy Hill for C.J. Anderson and Amari Cooper?
Cooper.
No.
We need to speak about C.J. Anderson. I don't know why he wasn't in the poop section.
Because he didn't poop. He had an average game.
He did?
Yeah.
An average game?
Yeah. I mean, he opened with a 27-yard catch, and I think he had 40 on the ground or so. So it was a fine game. It wasn't an RB1 like you're hoping from C.J. Anderson.
Yeah, it was an RB3. He was the 32nd running back.
Okay.
So.
All right. So what do you do with this trade? Landry and Hill for C.J. and Cooper.
I stay with Landry and Hill.
I think I agree.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Cooper than Landry, but I'd rather have Hill than Anderson. So
I agree, but I like the idea of getting Cooper somehow. So Matt,
so you can do the Mr. Cooper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Matt in Manassas.
Manassas?
Where do these people live?
We make them up. Just kidding. All right. Matt says, won my matchup this week based on the last-minute addition of Charles Clay.
Oh, nice.
Thanks for the tip. Got an offer. I give up Jimmy Graham and get Emmanuel Sanders. Feel like Graham's production is going to plummet, giving the spread of targets in Seattle. Do you take this deal?
Yes.
I would
take it in a heartbeat.
If you have Charles Clay, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I would take it.
Would you take it if he did not have another alternate at tight end?
Most people found Charles Clay on the waivers this week, and I think you're going to be able to do that in an average week, so I would still do it. But Charles Clay makes it a slam dunk for me.
All right, that's it for the mailbag section.
Whee!
What do we want to tell the people?
Well, we want to tell the people. You go to jointhefoot.com if you want to be a part of the fastest growing fantasy football community on the interwebs. It's just a fantastic time. People are getting together. They're talking. They're answering questions. There's exclusive content from our show. All kinds of awesome stuff at jointhefoot.com.
We also want to tell you that as an independent podcaster, I am technically a podcaster.
But
you're
true.
Independent too, Mike.
I'm independent of you.
Hey, you guys help us grow this show, so we have a recommendation for you. We don't want you telling, don't tell your friends in your league about us because, then your advantage is gone. But go tell one person that plays in fantasy football outside of your league about this show and have them subscribe. Give us a shot. Ask them what they think. Then you can share your fellow hellos with one another. You can, share your Oreos with one another. But tell somebody about the show. Help us build this podcast. You can check us out on Twitter at the FF Ballers. That's a good way to tell somebody about us. You can also tell them on Facebook. We're on facebook.com/thefantasyfootballers. If you want to like our page on there, we post all our new content. Check out thefantasyfootballers.com. If you have a question, you can submit those there. And check us out on YouTube. Hit subscribe.
And we have, because of jointhefoot.com, we reached a goal. We have an 8-hour Twitter blitz coming where we will be
answering as many questions as our fingers allow.
At least one person will be manning the Twitter account, and we will be there for 8 straight hours.
In fact, we're going to schedule that today, so we'll come back on the show tomorrow. We'll tell you about the time and when we'll be doing it, so you can hop on Twitter, ask any question you want. Doesn't matter. We'll be answering them for 8 straight hours. All because of jointhefoot.com.
Unless we die.
I think Roddy White will be available. He'll help us out.
Oh, no.
So. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with some waiver wire.
Yeah, the waiver wire.
It's time. Let's get ready.
We're 25% done. That sucks. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. Pooped in his big boy pants? He doesn't have big boy pants yet.
He was starting.
If we're telling people to start him, he's got big boy pants.
Yeah, to flex him. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
He was awful. And Alfred Morris bounced back in a big way.
That's fair.